Hello, welcome to Cooking with Gina. My name is Gina Virginia Casella, and thank you for joining me today. Please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Gina Virginia Casella and to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. So eating vegan is a lifestyle shift for me, and I wasn't really sure where to start, and it's a lot easier than I thought. It's just knowing where to find the ingredients. And so Barilla pasta is vegan. I'm not getting endorsed by Barilla or anything. I just want to share with you what ingredients I'm looking for. And if for some reason something is not vegan, please just kindly let me know in the comments, because I am still learning and I wanted to dive right into this. So what I'm making, I don't really know. I tend to cook up a storm. And people will ask me, like, what was that dish called? And it's like, I don't know, penne noodles with beans, cabbage, and corn. so that's what I'm doing. I love pasta and I love rice. And so I like to change it up with different kinds of pasta. And I like, switching from penne noodles to the spaghetti noodles and whatnot. And I also really enjoy rice and lentils to change it up as well. And when it comes to corn, I always get peaches and cream corn if I can. It's on the sweeter side. And the beans, my sister and I had chili last night, and so this is just some leftovers. And whenever I cook, whether it's a soup or a pasta, I really just like to add 2-3 ingredients at the most. And if I'm adding more than that, it's because I'm cleaning out the fridge or the cupboards. And so I love days where I just snoop through my own cupboards and I find a little bit of rice, a little bit of pasta, a little bit of lentils, and I make a soup out of it or whatever. But today I'm making penne pasta, and I'm calling it lazy lasagna because I'm going to bake it with some cheese. And the cheese is in the fridge, and I'll show you when I get to that step. Okay, so my cat Rosie is meowing on me. I guess she wants to be on camera, but so if you hear her in the background meowing, that's her. So with the cabbage, I love making cabbage rolls and whatnot with it, but I also love just taking the cabbage and cutting it up. So how much cabbage am I going to use? I don't know. And that's part of the thing that I love about cooking is you just add whatever you have. And my philosophy, it's like camping. So, okay, this knife isn't a very good one here for cutting cabbage, but it's like camping. So you just work with what you have. And food appreciation. This is not my kitchen. And when I'm cutting up something like cabbage, I want to leave this core in there because it just helps keep it fresher longer. So I'll save that. Maybe not for tomorrow, but the next day, just to take a little bit of a break from cabbage. So I'm going to rinse this and chop it up. Okay, so I changed knives. One thing to really note is when you're cooking, you really need to have good utensils, knives and whatnot. Otherwise, it's dangerous. You can really hurt yourself. And I'm learning that it's hard for me to look at the camera and chop at the same time. So let me just put it on pause and I'm going to chop away. Okay, so it's super simple. I just take my cabbage and I put it in the pot. Realizing you can't really see it very well. And I'm going to add, excuse me, a little bit of water and bring it to a boil. And I'm right here with it. How much water am I adding? I don't know. That's what cooking is all about. So it's right here on the stove. And I'm going to turn it to maximum. And I'm going to let it come to a full boil. And then I'm just going to let it simmer until it's cooked. And cabbage, as you know, is on the thick side. So at some point I'm going to add corn to it. But right now I'm going to let it boil. So while it's boiling, I'm going to add some salt and pepper to it. I used to use sea salt all the time, but now I'm using kosher salt. Now this thing's pretty heavy, and it's so full that it's hard to get the salt out. So as I use it, more and more salt comes out of it. I don't like to add too much salt when I'm boiling things. I like the taste of raw salt, but in this case with the cabbage, I like to salt and pepper it up. So do it, don't do it is what I'm saying. And that's one of the nice things about cooking. So it's starting to smell really good. It's not at a full boil yet, but the water is boiling, starting to. So I wanted to just show you when I'm cooking with beans, I always rinse the stuff from the can first. And whatever's left over, I always leave a napkin with it just to make sure that it doesn't get soggy on me. So I'm a simultaneous kind of person. So simultaneously, this is starting to boil. It's not at a full boil yet, but almost. And I'm just making sure that I break it up as it's boiling. And if it has any like really big pieces like this one right here, I'm not overly concerned about it. It'll find its way. And again, food appreciation. This is not like restaurant style, but it's absolutely, for me personally, part of the restaurant cuisine. So it's at a full boil. What I'm going to do is just reduce that. Every oven is a bit different. I'm going to add some corn to it. How much corn? I don't know, as much as you want. That's the thing about cooking. If you want to add another vegetable, you can. And I'm going to be baking this as well. I just want to find a balance between this stuff being cooked and not turning into like a soggy mush when I bake it later. So beautiful colors. And I won't be straining this. I'm just going to boil the hell out of it until it's cooked. So the corn cooled it down. So I'm going to bring it back up to a boil and just kind of babysit it. And usually I wear an apron when I cook. I have a very strict rule, but I'm not at my place right now. So I'm just making do with what I have. It's like camping, and I might even wear this same outfit all the time just to have like, this is going to be my apron, I think, throughout my duration here. And I'm excited too, because I can tell I'm talking too fast sometimes and I want to rush, and I'm trying to find balance looking at the camera and at my cuisine. Another reason why I like wearing an apron is because, I don't know about you, but I have a tendency of putting my belly out, and I just like, it's a fire hazard. And also I find the counter can make little holes in my shirt. So wearing an apron is also a safety reminder, because, you know, sometimes we get caught up on the phone or whatever. And so I just know if I'm wearing my apron, something in the kitchen is on. Okay, and like I said, I'm not going to strain this. The intention is that the water just all boils away. So keep that in mind. If you find yourself with too much water, whatever, strain it. So I'm just going to reduce that. I've got it to about 7 here. I'm still getting used to this stove. Okay. And then what I want to do is, I've got some balsamic vinegar from Kraft. I'm not being endorsed by them. I just want you to know some things that you can grab that are vegan. And if it's not vegan, let me know in the comments. I'm just going to add some to these beans. And I'm going to grab a spoon and just mix it. So if you've got some leftover bean salad or something like that, it's perfect because the beans have had a chance to marinate. But these did not marinate overnight, and that's okay. If I wanted to add some salt, pepper to this, I can. Do as you please. So I'm just going to pause this, and I'm going to get the vegan butter out of the fridge. So I just wanted to share with you that while I'm cooking this, if I wanted to, I could add tomato sauce to it or something like that and transform this into a soup. I could just serve it as is with a side of rice. There's a lot of things I can do with it. Yesterday I made chili. I used leftover salsa sauce. And actually, the past couple of weeks, I've been making these amazing dishes. And I'm like, you know what, maybe I should make these videos. And so I'm wondering if you can relate and what goes through your mind when you're cooking. And it really brings me joy. I find myself engaged in presence. I have an appreciation for the food and the colors as I cook this cabbage and corn. The green is more vibrant, the yellow is more vibrant. It smells phenomenal. So I'm also going to get the water boiling so I can boil the noodles. I wanted to show you the butter that I'm using. It's called Earth Balance. It says soya free on it, vegan. And thank God for this butter, because for me, butter is such a staple in the kitchen. I put it on my vegetables. I put it on my noodles. Even if I'm having spaghetti with sauce, I like to mix all of my noodles with butter and then put my sauce on it. And same with rice. I actually like to put butter on pretty much everything. And sometimes, yeah, I'll put oil, olive oil. But when I'm cooking like this, it's definitely butter. So I just switched elements here. My water is taking a little longer to boil. And my cabbage, all that water I put in is almost all gone now. And see you in a little bit. While I'm waiting for my cabbage to finish and corn, I've got the water on high so it can boil, and I'm just turning on my oven. Whenever I bake anything, I always bake it at 350 to 400, depends what it is. And I'm not familiar with this oven, but I'm going to take a risk and put it at 400. When I'm baking nuts and seeds, I tend to reduce the temperature even to like 320. Again, it just kind of depends. I really enjoyed using a toaster oven for some time, and I found that the temperature needed to be high on there, and it baked a lot faster than the conventional oven that I'm using now. So my cabbage is almost done boiling, and I'm excited, but I don't want to rush it because even though it's going to bake in the oven, I want to make sure that it's cooked. When I bake it in the oven, this mock lasagna, if you will, it's not going to be a 3-layer. It's just going to be 2 layers like a sandwich. And I'm going to put some vegan cheese on it. I've never used this vegan cheese before, so we'll see how that works out. The cheese that I've used, which I'll show you shortly, I've used it. We had tacos the other night, and the cheese didn't really melt. And it didn't really taste like cheese, but I was wondering, am I just being a tough critic? Maybe I'm just have a expectation of what cheese is going to look like and taste like. So depending on how this goes, I may or may not use the brand again. So show you in just a moment. So the cabbage is cooked, and I've just made it a point to stomp it gently a little bit to make sure it's all broken up. There's still some water in there. It's really not a big deal. If I want, I could even add the water to this, but I'm just going to use one of those spoons that has the holes in it, one of the ladles with the holes in it, so that I don't have like a watery lasagna. So I couldn't find one of those ladles with the holes in it. I know there's one around here somewhere, and it's like camping. We just make do with what we have. So I put it in a strainer. And I'm going to put it back in the pot just because it's easier for me to manage. So I've got my cabbage and corn in a pot, and I'm going to add just a little bit of lemon to it. And when I add lemon, I don't know about you, but I like some parts to be intentionally more lemony than others. And so I don't want the lemon to be evenly distributed. It's just like a little highlight in the bites that you take. I'm going to take a taste test, and I'll judge if it needs a bit more salt or not. And I'm also going to add some butter while it's hot. how much butter? I don't know, about this much. And I find that the vegan butter, it melts pretty quick, but not like the other butter. And so you just have to give it a chance. There, it's melting. Okay. So I'm just going to taste test it. As anticipated, it's totally amazing. If I want to add salt, I can, but I know when the lasagna is actually done, I'm going to put salt and pepper on the whole thing anyways. So I really like the taste of raw salt, so I'm just going to hold off on the salt. I can't really taste the lemon. It might have just been that bite that I had. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'll be right back. So I just wanted to show you, this is the water that was left over, and I'm telling you, it's like really tasty. So if you wanted to intentionally save this as a little cup of soup or something, you could. I'm just going to chow down on it. Okay, so when I'm cooking, I like to eat when I cook, and I'm mindful to use different spoons and whatnot, so I'm not double dipping all my germs and everything. Just in case you're wondering. So my water, it's getting nice and boiled. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to reduce the heat. I used to add a lot of salt when I boiled pasta, and I don't do that anymore. And really, you know, I think, like, why did I even salt the water with the cabbage? It's just a way of knowing. So maybe I won't do that next time. What do you do? Love to hear about it in the comments. So I'm going to add the whole box because I'm cooking for 3, possibly 4. I have a big appetite, and there's 2 of us eating tonight, and I intentionally want there to be leftovers for a lunch. So put that all in there. And that was really good soup, by the way. And I almost considered just saying, forget this lasagna. Let's just take this cabbage mixture and make soup, because that's how good it was. So I don't know if folks out there have used the Barilla pasta before. I find it cooks fairly fast. The pasta that I'm used to cooking with, usually it cooks for a good 8 to 12 minutes, somewhere in there. This stuff, I find it cooks in a good 3 to 5. This is my first time cooking the penne noodles, and penne I find takes a bit longer to cook anyways. So that's where I'm at, just stirring it. And I'm going to get that cheese out and show it to you while this is cooking. So again, I'm not being endorsed by these companies or anything. I'm just sharing with you ingredients that I'm using on my journey of vegan cuisine. This is, it says dairy-free, but it's vegan. And it's called Daya. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's made with oat cream. And anyways, I just don't want to get any on the floor here, but I'm going to put some in my hand. And it doesn't feel like cheese at all. I don't know what it feels like. And it doesn't even really smell like cheese. And I'm personally not tasting like a strong cheddar taste by any means. So if I was just having like tacos like I was the other night, and I needed a cheese substitute, I wouldn't use this. But I will put it on my lasagna and see if it melts. And food appreciation, unless I'm allergic to it, I don't have any allergies that I know of, or unless I'm actually like gagging, which takes a lot for me to gag, food appreciation, I eat it. And I'm mindful about ingredients that I purchase. And it's not very often, but sometimes whatever I make is just a complete failure. But those days are far and few. And I'm wondering if you can relate in the comments. And what are vegan cheeses that you use? You know, I know there's really good brands out there. I'm just starting my journey, like I said. I don't have tomato sauce. Oh, well, it's not the end of the world. I do have tomatoes in the fridge. I could slice that out, but I want to save it for sandwiches. I've got other plans for the tomatoes. But I do have some Tostitos. This is vegan. And again, I'm not being endorsed. If something I'm using is not vegan, please kindly let me know in the comments. And when you look at the ingredients, you're just looking basically for fruit or vegetable ingredients. And a lot of ingredients have milk product in it. And so that's something to be mindful of. So I was just thinking about when I was in university, I would make lazy lasagna with big rigatoni noodles. And typically I would put mushrooms in there whole or just chopped in half. And I really enjoyed putting really big chunks of green pepper. And so I have green pepper in the fridge, and that was my intention initially when I was making today's meal. But I'm just in the mood for penne, and I want to make sure that I'm using the cabbage so that I don't have too many vegetables on the go. And I'm wondering if you can relate and what you do with your leftovers. So I just wanted to show you that typically I add garlic powder to everything, and if I can get fresh garlic, I always use that. But because I'm going to be using a salsa, just in lieu of the sauce, and I won't even be using that much really, I'm not going to be adding garlic. If I didn't have a salsa sauce, then I would definitely be seasoning my tomato sauce if I was making it with just tomatoes with garlic, onion, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and I'm wondering if you can relate in the comments. Okay, so I strained the pasta noodles, and I always leave just a little bit of water in there because it helps make it on the saucy side, if you will. So I'm going to add my butter while it's nice and hot. I might add more butter, we'll see. I love pasta. Maybe you want to see too. And as you can see, the earth balance, it melts, not like the other butter. So you just have to be a little patient. And if I wanted to, I could just dump the Tostita sauce in there. But I intentionally want there to be some noodles that don't have any sauce on it. So just going to remove this from the heat and show you how I assemble this. So I'm going to bring my camera a bit closer. Okay. And this, I'm satisfied. And I'm getting hungry. It's smelling really good in here. Okay, so as you can see, I added just a little bit of sauce on the bottom. And just like you would make any lasagna, I'm going to layer it. And I'm just going to push the noodles down. Now, when this is done baking, it's not going to stick together like a traditional lasagna would. That's why it's called lazy lasagna. I'm just going to put a bit more noodles there. Okay. Then I'm going to take my Tostito sauce. I'm just going to put a blob there, there. And like I said, I don't want to cover all the noodles. Okay. Then I'm going to take my cabbage and corn mixture. with a bit of lemon. And just like when you're making a lasagna, you want to put all your ingredients in there, but then you just want to take a moment and press it flat. Okay, so just like that. And it's really important to press the layers as you go. That way each layer has a good foundation. Just like anything in life, you want a strong foundation. As a public school teacher, I'm a sucker for the foundations. Reading and writing, all those, building familiarity. And then if you're the cook, you always get to reward yourself with a bite. And I got a nice lemony bite in there. It's good. It's good for you. Open wide. Okay, then I'm going to take some of this cheese. And I don't know about you, but when I make lasagna, I like to intentionally leave the edges on the drier side. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more sauce. I'll just blob it here, blob it there. Okay, I'm going to add more noodles. And if I wanted to, I could have added my bean mixture in there, but I just, you know, keeping with the theme of lasagna, wanted there to be 2 layers. And I still have some pasta left, so I'll just keep that. Make a pasta salad tomorrow or something out of it. This is my bean layer. So I added that balsamic salad dressing to it. If I wanted to, I could have mashed the beans. And the nice thing about cooking with canned beans is they're ready to rock and roll. You just have to rinse them off. So I'm going to add a bit more sauce. And I'm just like ready to dive into this right now. I'm going to hold off on adding more salt and pepper because I've come to really appreciate the fresh raw salt and pepper. I'm just going to take a moment and press this. And I've done this before with macaroni noodles and other kind of noodles. Traditionally, I like using lasagna noodles, but today I was feeling the penne. My oven is set to 375. I thought it was on 400. Just turn it up a little bit there. Add more cheese. Now, I love spicy food, but the person that I'm sharing this meal with, not so much. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And like I was saying earlier, I intentionally like to leave the edges on the drier side. Okay, so I'm just going to rinse my hands here. I'm going to put this in the oven, and I'm intentionally not going to cover it. I want it to dry out, and I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, so this might be taboo with the camera. I'm going to take it off here and show you. Oh yeah. So the rule of thumb is basically when the cheese is melted, it's done. This is my first time using this cheese. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm wondering if you can relate in the comments, if you have your own version of lazy lasagna. One of my favorite lazy lasagnas, like I was saying, is with mushroom and green peppers. I like to add black olives as well. I actually have some green pepper and black olives in the fridge, but you know what? I'm going to save that, like I said, and take care of my cabbage here and the beans because those are already leftovers on the go. So look what I found. I found that ladle with the holes in it. So I'm just going to, oh, my little headset's falling off here. I'm just going to take the leftover pasta and put it in here. And I like to clean as I go, so I'm going to do that while I'm keeping track of my lasagna here. So I'll be right back. And I just wanted to say that, you know what I'm really thinking about is that little bowl of cabbage corn soup that I had. That was good. And I have a feeling I'm going to make that with the leftover cabbage, some kind of soup for tomorrow. Good news, the cheese is melting. And just for the sake of safety, I'm going to open the oven and turn it around without recording so I don't knock the camera over. This is the new way of knowing, cooking with Gina and recording at the same time. Okay, so I can't help it. I'm opening this up, just turning it over, and it still needs longer, but it's going back in. I don't know how long it's been, but it's only been a few minutes, maybe like 3 to 5 at the most. Tomorrow, no promises, I might make that cabbage corn soup and these noodles might go in there. I could make it now, but maybe I'll change my mind. If I did make it now, I definitely would not add the noodles until tomorrow because they tend to get soggy just sitting in the soup, at least in my experience. When I drink, when I'm eating, I like to have tea water, like I was saying. That's what I call it. So it's just basically water with 2 to 3 tea bags in it, and I put that in a jug that's about 1.5 liters, 2 liters. That seems to last me for a few days. In my experience, if I leave the tea bags in there too long, they get gross. But I drink all the water, and it's like a little healthy challenge that I have to make sure I drink all the water in a 2 to 3 day period. And like I was showing earlier in a different video, I'll squeeze leftover pieces of oranges in there. If I have apples, if there's abundance, I'll slice apples and put it in the jug of water. And my rule of thumb is to always leave it sit overnight. But right now I'm just gonna have some good old-fashioned orange pico. So I'm gonna boil water, and I wonder what you like to drink with your food. I like to drink the cold tea. I like to drink the hot teas, and I also really enjoy wine. I didn't realize it, but I like my wine sweet. I like the Moscato. I also really like honey mead, but with the bumblebee issue, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Arguably, almonds are a vegan choice, but again, we run into the bumblebee issue, so I'm figuring it out. And I also really enjoy pop, root beer, Coke, Pepsi. The odd time I'll get that pink crush. But I find since I'm moving away from eating such sugary foods that when I drink pop, it's like, ooh, I really can tell that it's very sugary, and same with wine, the Moscato. And I haven't had that in a while. And so anyways, I'm going to make tea, and I'm wondering if you can relate and what kind of drink you enjoy having with your meals. So I just checked on the lasagna, and it looks the same as last time. So I don't know if the cheese is going to melt anymore, but I can tell by the noodles that it needs to sit a bit longer. So I'm just going to do that and keep tidying up. So I'm really excited, just waiting for the lasagna. I'm boiling water for my tea. And I always wonder, like, did I make enough food? Because sometimes seasonally, depending on what's going on during the day, I tend to eat more or less. And especially when I'm experimenting with new foods, like this cheese, I've never cooked with it before, other than the other day when I had tacos. I don't want to risk making too much just in case I don't like it. And for me not to like it, like I pretty much like everything. So I just have to be mindful about what I'm using. And it's always a reflective practice. So I enjoy, I don't want to say healthy criticism, but I enjoy the reflecting piece of maybe I should have added more butter, or maybe I should add less or more lemon. I am sharing this meal with somebody. And so if they, for some reason, don't like it, then I'm willing to eat the rest of the lasagna. And in some worst case scenario, if there's not enough, well, we've got this pasta as backup. I've got black olives and other stuff in the fridge that I could easily chop up. And if the person doesn't want to take the lasagna for their lunch tomorrow, then they can be creative with these noodles here. It's really not a big deal. They're still nice and warm. It's hard for me not to eat them. And one of the things that I really love about penne noodles and macaroni noodles in particular is that you can always make a cold salad with them. So even earlier when I was adding the balsamic vinegar to those beans, I could have just transformed this into some kind of balsamic pasta salad. And so I'm wondering, what do you do? How do you manage your food? And my water for my tea, it's just about to boil, so I'm going to take care of that. So the lasagna, it's pretty much done, but I want to keep it in a little bit more because that top layer, I like it when it's on the drier, I don't want to say crispier side, but anyways, I'm just going to put it back in the oven. So my hot tea, the orange pico, is ready. I just got it over there on the table. And I thought, well, you know what, I was talking about it, and I need to make a new jug anyway. So I just have this glass jar. I've got some St. John's wort. And usually I just add 2 tea bags, but I find that the St. John's wort isn't very flavorful. Even if I added a lot, it doesn't have a lot of flavor. So whatever. And that's it. I just add the tea bags and it'll infuse. And if I wanted to drink the tea right away, I would probably just take a tea bag and put it in my mason jar and just kind of play around with the tea bag. But otherwise, it's best just to do like I did, toss the tea bags in there and just put it in the fridge. So my lasagna is ready. It looks really great. It's super hot. So I know that when I cut into it, it's not going to hold its form like a traditional lasagna, whatever. And the first piece that you take is always the messiest looking one. So homemade is best made, even if it's just a peanut butter sandwich. I'm wondering what homemade meals you're making. And I'm just going to put it on pause and sneak a little piece of this. So I'm finished my lasagna. It didn't hold its form, whatever. As it cools, it will hold its form a bit better, and I really don't care. So there it is. It's very beautiful. And the cheese, it melted. So the other day when I had tacos with this cheese, the cheese didn't melt. I guess it's the kind of cheese that if you want it to melt, you need to bake it. And it's really piping hot. That's good. And the cheese, it's kind of sticky tasting, like it has a cheese whiz texture to it. Really good. If I made this again, I think I'd add more corn to it, and got a nice taste of lemon. And the salsa was a nice way to cheat the system, if you will. And the balsamic vinegar on the beans, I can't really taste it. But it is good. It all married together in a lovely way. And I did add salt and pepper to it. And that bite that I had just had a bit of balsamic vinegar on it. So if I made this again, I think I would put the balsamic vinegar and beans in the first layer, and maybe even mix the balsamic vinegar with that first layer of noodles that I put on. Anyways, this is really good. I really like the cabbage. I think I might cut the cabbage into bigger pieces next time. And this is just phenomenal. So thank you for watching Cooking with Gina. My name is Gina Virginia Casella. I'd love to hear how you can relate in the comments. Vegan cooking, how is it working out for you? What name brands are you using? Let's think, pair, share it up. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Gina Virginia Casella. And I would love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. I'm a hypnotherapist, you know, a transformational healer. And part of my journey moving to vegan is making that change that I want to see in the world, eating better foods. And so I'm really enjoying this experience, and I feel really good about sharing with you publicly how I'm enjoying food at home. So see you next time. Thank you again.